their paved area discharges in this general direction and goes downstream.
But, first of all, you engineered it, but I mean, I've been driving through the greens for years, and, you know, friends that live down there have been driving through there for years, and until this development was there, I've never seen this road covered with water and
I've never seen the
overflow.
road covered with water even after this
I have.
development. And,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I've asked a couple of
But
times
I
to be
have,
called and
and
haven't
it
been
hasn't
called.
happened up until this development. was
But the
complete.
original complaint that we had from the Greens was that the hole was wet. And I can tell you that the hole was wet before we built the Greens.
With all due respect, I listened to a woman, I think she's sitting here tonight, she was here 2 weeks ago. Who lived there before the development, when McIntyre came in, and has lived there after. I think she has photos tonight that show.
I've seen them.
Okay, well, I think that's, I haven't seen it, but I think she has proof of what it looks like. So I agree with Mr. O'Leary that the Greens, the folks at the Greens, have no responsibility here as far as I'm concerned. You know, whether it's those abutters up on Tar Box alone and or with Habitat, but the Greens, in my opinion, shouldn't contribute anything to the remediation of this problem. I'm in line with Mr. O'Leary.
I'd like, ma'am,
Yes,
you raised your hand to speak?
She has some pictures too.
I have photos,
Okay,
if
well,
that would be of.
we would like enter them into the.
Can you identify
hearing.
yourself again, too, name and address?
Julie Seabury, I'm a resident and trustee at the Greens. We showed these same photos to Mr. Oberon the other night. He doesn't see the water, so I figured I'll bring them and let you people be the judge. This is Brassy Way. This is Brassy Way. This is coming from down Tar Box. This is Brassy Way. This is the road. You can see there's a snow, this is the catch basin on the opposite side of the road. And this is after a snow event. This is after snow. This is a melt. This is the wetland overflow to the left of the home on Tar Box. This is the water streaming down their property. This is, you can see their fence. This is on the right hand. If you're looking from Brassy, this is the right-hand side. And the large drain that was installed right here, and there was a large drain installed, actually by the person with the pool. I don't know whose batting cage that is, but that was installed in May of '07 after we had contacted Bruce in '06. So it was our feeling, that opening, we saw the backhoe, and I have photos of those, I don't think I brought them. We thought they had water issues also from the front of their house. I don't know, but this is coming from the side of their house, and it definitely contributes to the problem. But I asked,
This water.
this is March,
March, what year?
this year, this is the,
During the major
2010.
200, 500 years old.
This is February '08, and I believe this is May of '08. And this is behind, this is the flow that's coming down from behind the wetland, and then Brassy would be over here.
The question is, this section where this picture
on
was
the town.
taken, can you identify it here?
That roadway?
Right in
The
that area.
home, a home would be right here. This is,
There's no Warrington.
that,
Yep.
yeah, you can barely see it. This is, that's the home.
This house.
This is where the berm and the catch basin, well, you can't see the berm, you can't see the first catch basin, but this is Brassy Way. And Mr. Oberon did not see water on our road in this photo, and I did present a question.
I did not say that, ma'am. I never said that. I said that I've never observed it. And I think that one of the issues is that that catch basin tends to get plugged because it takes flow out of the woods, probably gets plugged up with leaves. I've never observed this on the ground. I've asked several times for them to call me. I lived this in a butter for a long time to the Greens, and I'm very familiar with it. I asked to be called. I've never been called when this occurred. I didn't say I didn't see water in these photos. I said that I've never observed water on site. And please, give me a call, you know? I'll give you my cell phone after the meeting.
Well,
In fact, I'll
hopefully
give
it's
it to
gonna
you
be
now.
resolved and I won't have to call you.
617-839-4351.
I can't
Give me a
remember
call.
that. I can't remember that. But I did pose the question at our meeting the other night, because this is sort of the battle we went through to get to the proposal, so this is what makes it difficult. So I did ask Mr. Ober, if McIntyre were built first, you did all the calculations, the engineering, and then we came to you and said, we'd like to develop a golf course and condominiums. Would these calculations and would this be acceptable for our development? And we also asked that we want to involve, we don't feel, we have about 2 feet from our catch basin on the McIntyre side. We have the basin, the berm, and maybe 2 feet. He's proposed to put the inlet there. We want it on, as was proposed, the area to be taken care of on that development. Because they're not cooperating, should not be our problem. The developer had a relationship with building their homes and subdividing their lots. So we feel it's their responsibility. If it helps to resolve and we can meet all the issues, we'd be more than happy to give a drainage easement. I mean,
Excuse me, for this concept, if you think it might work?
yes, if you
All
can,
right, so we have a solution, I guess, just a question of who's paying for it.
the
So
one.
I think technically, we have something that, at first blush, and you guys can look at it in depth, we agree might
Well,
solve this problem.
that's one big step.
The question is, where to put it.
We did find one thing out, though, in research. The special permit which we were built under, I actually have, Cheryl, do you have the special permit? Number 15 in that special permit, and I mentioned it to Mr. Ober the other night. It's, oh, I don't have my glasses. The Thompson Club Unit Owners Trust shall be responsible for keeping the drainage system in a clean and well-functioning condition, and shall do nothing that would alter the drainage patterns or characteristics as indicated on the plans and calculations submitted for the special permit. So what, on our end, we would need to know if there is going to be some intake put into it that we're covered, because on the next page, it says the trustees are liable if we don't.
I could certify that we are not increasing big runoff to the greens
Okay.
with this mitigation plan.
Where's the water go?
This is more of a maintenance thing than a major alteration.
It goes down into the pond system that goes through the greens, and I think the inclusion of that was more a concern that the greens might do something that would hamper the flow of water through the golf course when that was included. Not that, I mean, this runoff was included in the watershed plans for the greens when the greens were submitted back in 1984, 85, whenever it was. And so I don't think it was anticipating that, I think that it, first of all, Phil was anticipated from the Millen property, and Millen was represented when the rezoning went through, and he always anticipated that his property would be developed, and I think they expected that it would flow out here.
This was a natural water course. If you look at the topography before either development, water did flow through this particular area. That's without a doubt. So, it will continue to go in the same pattern that it did pre-development.
Yeah, but I am more concerned about the property owner altering that property to the point where it has now caused a significant issue. They've done it, now I've heard people say without permits, without approval, and that concerns me. It's a big concern, and I'm assuming the zoning board's probably concerned about this as well.
We
Plus,
checked
it's from
into,
conservation more than anybody else.
we checked into about the batting cage, and apparently because of the depth of the, concrete or asphalt, it wasn't required to be permanent. And they knew afterwards that they had built it over the water
Easement. Yeah.
and that if they needed to service it, it would be, but they've compounded it, but there were issues there before all of that went. But that's why I think it's important that they be a part of the solution, because
Absolutely.
With respect to the photos, anything that is presented at one of our meetings is part of the new open meeting law.
Sure.
We need to record or maintain copies.
We'll make
of.
photocopies of them,
Okay.
and if you want, we can get them back to you, Julie. Thanks.
Thank
We'll
you.
send them back to you, is that the easiest way?
Yes.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, if,
Thanks.
we put the swale in,
Mhm.
the swale is put in, if the drainage system on the greens is not maintained, maybe not what's happening today, but you could still have an issue, because that's where the overflow for that swale's gonna be, from what I understand. So if, they still need to maintain their system there.
Well, I would assume they're responsible for that, they would do, they
Right.
would be held to do that.
Are you saying they're not doing it now?
I don't know. I know that it was done, I guess, this spring, and then I think the water issues resolved itself a little bit, but I'm not positive.
We spoke briefly, Julie Seabury, myself, and the maintenance man from the Greens on Friday. And it's a constant battle, just like it would be for municipality to go into these natural wetland areas and make sure that the pipes are maintained and cleaned out. And I think that's probably what Chris is stating, that there's constant maintenance needed. There's a lot of old culverts that were in place as golf course culverts, is my understanding, and they still need maintenance.
So,
Mr. O'Leary?
as far as the proposed solutions, and Dave, you're proposing on doing something on the Greens property, and what are you planning on doing on these other abutters' property, and what if they don't give you permission? I mean, it doesn't appear as though they've been that cooperative to date.
That's
So-
correct.
so if they haven't been
This
cooperative to
solution
date-
would be the least invasive solution, where it would just be a passive swale off the side of the road, would provide us enough storage capacity to mitigate any of the flows in our models that we're seeing. We deal in rates of runoff, because as a volume of water comes down, it continues to move through the system. So we want to make sure that we manage that runoff rate, and that's what we would be doing here. And we would probably need a swale that is about 3 feet deep, sort of that old country drainage swale off the side of the road, maybe where it'd be 3 feet deep and 2 to 1 side slopes, 6 feet on each side, a 3-foot flat bottom and 3 feet deep. Very passive, could be revegetated easily with just a loam and seed. And we may have to take a small piece of the existing, if this was the solution, the stone wall, and then put it back in place once the excavation is done. There's only about 2 feet or 3 feet, about 3 feet between the roadway and the property line at one spot there. So most of it would be on the running property.
Mr. Yule?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Giovanni, in your presentation, did I understand you to say that this affects one abutter with the swimming pool? Did I hear
Yeah,
that?
I think,
That's what I thought I understood.
I think it's a combined effects of the two developments. Because this starts rising up, the swale would be from here to there, which is on this abutter's property.
Right.
So the rights, the easement rights to do the grading would be on the one abutting property here.
And am I understanding that it seems to be that a good cause for this is the swimming pool for that abutter and the barricade and whatever?
Yeah, I would say the overall magnitude of the development from these two lots.
So then, so 2 lots involved here as far as cost is concerned?
I don't know how they plan on splitting it up or trying to negotiate that.
If the Greens were not involved, I got the feeling that, the feeling was that the Greens should be responsible for the cost because they're suffering from it, and that the cause of it. Is that what I understood?
No, that's what has been stated.
That was my point.
Right.
I agree with it.
It would be Habitat in both the butters or something like that.
And here we're talking about $10,000.
Yes. Approximately.
Should be an easy solution.
In that order of magnitude.
Thank you.
So, where are we with this at
But
this
the
point?
other thing, is it Julie, right?